What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Admitting Stuff That I Wish I Didn't Have to. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin, and today we're going to be talking about the Boston Celtics and why they are the rightful favorites to repeat as NBA champions this season. As we know, Boston is coming off of one of the most dominant regular seasons in the history of the NBA, and they capped it off with one of the most dominant postseason runs in recent memory, in which they went 16-3 en route to winning the NBA title. There are many factors and many different pieces as to why Boston is so dominant, and it really boils down to two key things: talent and team building. Those are both very vague. They encapsulate a lot beyond just like basketball philosophy and on the court execution. Also, I'm not mentioning coaching quite yet, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But before I get ahead of myself, I believe that Boston should be favored to win the title again this year and repeat as NBA champions, not only because of what this team is, but on principle, when you are the reigning champ, it is up to one of the other 29 teams to beat you. And until someone does that, I don't think that you should be picked against, especially when you are bringing back the same team that you just won the title with. Every major rotation piece for Joe Mazzulla in these past playoffs is returning. You still have your two All NBA caliber franchise players, and then the host of role players that took a great team and made them unstoppable. Vegas also echoes this sentiment. They have Boston as the favorites to win, right up there with the Oklahoma City Thunder and the New York Knicks. While I do expect Boston to have another remarkable and spectacular season, I don't think it will be as easy for them. I don't foresee them winning 64 games again. I think that with how much better the Eastern Conference has gotten, between 55 and 58 is much more realistic. I certainly don't envision them going 16-3 in the postseason. The Celtics got very lucky last year, particularly in the playoffs, and I don't think that luck will be reciprocated to them again. But I'm not really going to hold that against them because every NBA champion, every organization gets lucky at some point, but it's more so attributed to the increased talent levels of Philadelphia, of the Knicks, of the Orlando Magic. Even though the Magic aren't a contender, they're still a very good team now. Philly and New York are the most immediate threats to the Celtics with their acquisitions of Paul George and Karl Anthony Towns, respectively. Not only are PG and Towns elite players, they fit both of those units very well, and they fill the gaping holes for both of those organizations. You now effectively have three of the four best teams in the NBA at the top of the Eastern Conference. I haven't mentioned Milwaukee, who still has Giannis, who is still arguably the most dominant player in the NBA, even though I am skeptical of Doc Rivers. As I just touched on, Orlando got better with their acquisition of Kentavious Caldwell Pope. You have another year of Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero. Cleveland is still a potential spoiler in the playoffs. You have Miami, Indiana. There are a lot of very good teams in the East who can pull off a first round upset. This is not the Eastern Conference of a couple years ago where the Chicago Bulls at like 39 and 47 or whatever, the 39 and 43 are clinching a playoff berth. There is a lot of spoiler potential in this conference. On the other side of the standings, in the Western Conference, you have Dallas, Minnesota. I think Dallas you still have to respect, even though the team didn't get considerably better. Klay Thompson, giving Klay Thompson shots instead of Tim Hardaway Jr. is an immediate boost for that offense. I still think that they are in the upper echelon of the Western Conference. Oklahoma City is my favorite to go to the finals out of the West, the Minnesota Timberwolves. But the West is no longer monopolizing all of the talent in the NBA. Denver, I think, is going to have. I think that Denver is going to struggle more than we've seen in recent seasons. The Clippers, I think, are going to fall off. Losing Paul George is huge for them, but there is still a lot of parity in the league. Regardless of that, I still believe that Boston is the best team in the NBA. They have the requisite talent. All of that talent plays exceptionally well together. The coaching staff is tremendous. Joe Mazzulla, as freaky as he may be, as eccentric as he may be, he is an incredible basketball coach. He is an incredible motivator, tactician, all of those things. They're just a little bit better than everybody else. And the edge for them comes in their role players because instead of having very good role players, they have elite role players. Their 3-and-D guys are Derek White and Drew Holiday. They have Kristaps Porzingis, an elite stretch five, a great dynamic on offense. You have Al Horford, who is the first player in NBA history, maybe in sports history, to become unwashed. This team, like 1 through 7, 1 through 8, if we throw in Hauser and Pritchard, they're just remarkable. All of their magnificence comes additionally from the style of basketball that they play. They can make adjustments on the fly. You not only need a coach to do that, as we've seen Mike Budenholzer, but you need players who are capable of doing it as well. If the game does not call for switching every screen, the Celtics don't have to. They can put Derek White on Luka Doncic. They can put Drew Holiday on Luka Doncic and have them stay on him. They don't need to switch a 2-5 pick and roll or a 1-5 pick and roll and leave Al Horford on an island. They can play zone, they can play man, they can play matchup zone, they can switch 1 through 4, they can switch 1 through 5. You have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who are great defenders, capable of guarding 1 through 3, 1 through 4, even depending on what the lineup may be. And it's this defense that makes them so unstoppable. I haven't seen anything from Boston that leads me to believe that there's going to be this tremendous fall off. And offensively, they are, again, still capable of doing so many different things. The beauty of Jason Tatum not being a scorer who monopolizes the offense is that they're capable of doing different things. They can run through Porzingis. They can run through Jaylen Brown. They can include Al Horford as a playmaker from the free throw line from the top of the key. They can put him in the short roll. They can put him in the pick and roll. They can use Derek White and Drew Holiday as off-ball threats, as cutters, as screeners. They can just do so many things. They can play Porzingis in the post, in the mid post, at the elbow extended when Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum aren't on the court. It's just very difficult for their opponents to match up with them and very difficult for their opponents to dictate the style of play and just overall get a grip on the game. Really, the only immediate concern for Boston is going to be health, and that's a concern with every team throughout the season. The 82-game season is a little bit too long, I think, and you're bound to get hit with the injury bug at some point, but it is exceedingly rare for health to be the sole concern for a championship contender. I look at the Sixers, I look at the Knicks. There is going to be an adjustment period for them. They're going to have to figure out how to work Paul George and Karl Towns into their offenses, into their defenses. There's going to be fiddling with the rotation. There's going to be fiddling with the playbook. There are going to be growing pains. There are always growing pains when you add a second or a tertiary star. And that sometimes can lead to slow starts. It can lead to slumps. The Celtics don't have to worry about any of that. They can just go. And I think Jason Tatum is going to come in warm. I think that Drew Holiday and Derek White are going to come in warm as well because they played basketball like less than 2 months ago in Paris. Jaylen Brown should have been there as well. But there really isn't any negative for this team. It like as an online Celtics hater, it really pains me to say, but at least I don't have to worry about the Nets going up against them in the playoffs. That's always a positive. There really isn't anything that I'm worried about with this team. I would love to see Oklahoma City beat them in the finals. I'm obviously not going to be rooting for the Celtics in the playoffs because I would not be able to. I just simply I would not be able to live with myself. But I will be appreciative of this style of basketball, and I will also be appreciative of all of the quirky and absurd quotes that Joe Mazzulla gives us throughout the course of the season. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. Thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description box below: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, drop a comment as well. Really helps out with the algorithm. If you do any of those three things, you'll become my new favorite person. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next one.